I'm Chris McDonough, a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. Welcome to the interview room, everybody. This is going to be a members-only presentation. Sure love you guys. Welcome aboard. Take a seat. As always, coming from an undisclosed location, at TIR, we follow the evidence wherever it takes us on a case, always remembering all parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. All opinions are welcomed here. We only ask that you keep them safe, classy, and factual. Thank you always to our mods. We can never, ever do this without you. Our team lead, Miss Sophia, Maui Girl, Mimi J2, Stephanie H, Teresa M, and Mystery Maven. Thank you always to our members. We're so grateful for each and every one of you. And we hope tonight, together, we move mountains to bring justice to families and victims of violent crime. As always, tonight's guest is you. You're the most important part of the interview room, the TIR family members. We can't do it without you. And we're grateful for each and every one of you. So thankful. So thankful. Tonight, it's going to be an open mic night, Q&A. In the chat as we go along here, just put a question mark so I can catch it. And we're going to discuss a couple of different things on tonight's debriefing. Hey, Justin, Justice for All, how are you? Lynn W, Where the Wind Blows, Angel P, Teresa, Jules, Teresa Lambert, thank you so much. So grateful to each and every one of you. Wendy Herschel, Wendy, you're here. Awesome. It's so great to have you here. Tammy, Ginger Reed, Maui Girl, Aloha Maui, I see you. I love that name. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Karen Massey, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I know this was kind of a last minute thing for everybody, but I figured I need to keep doing these more often, and you guys deserve it. And Ginger Reed, thank you so much. And with Miss Sophia, Grandma Palma 76, Sleuthing Sandy, each and every one of you are such an integral part of this channel. You've helped us immensely. I mean, I can't tell you in how many ways. Thank you, Rita. Aloha to you. Aloha to all of our veterans and our family members around the world. Holly Golightly, hi a little bit. Charlotte D, Sleuthing Sandy again. We are so grateful to each and every one of you. And I mean that in all sincerity. So a couple of things tonight, members only debriefing. We're going to cover a couple of, topics that you may want to be you may want to talk about as well. I figure I would finally weigh in now that this little young lady in Northern California has been discovered. What a tragedy that's been from day one. I purposely have stayed out of it, knowing what the authorities were doing. It was going 150 miles an hour, and they obviously I didn't need to get involved in any of that. And it's kudos to the sheriff's department for reaching out to AWP, Adventures with Purpose. I mean, Jared and his team over there, they got a gift. You got to give it to them, and thank goodness they were able to get out there and assist with the technology that they had, and as well as with the skill that they have in their searching capabilities. True Seeker, hi, how are you? Yes, it is heartbreaking. Karen Baz, how are you? Jules Cares, I see everybody coming in. It's good to see everybody. It was really neat to see that the sheriff's department had gotten so much information from the public. Thank you, Tammy. I will be able to. I love you so much. We love you as well. And that little guy in your photo there, I've got an update on Buddy. I'm going to bring to everybody tonight. It's been a long week, let me tell you. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed, listening to Justin coming in and weighing in. But I gotta give it to Jared and his team, and to the authorities. Quite frankly, this is what we talk about constantly, about bringing credibility to the table. And once that credibility is shown, then the authorities will reach out. And that's what Jared has accomplished, and his team over there. They actually, Tiny Dancer, they did. There was a sergeant who reached out after the public reached in. There was a sergeant that was assigned to contact them, and they were contacted to come assist. So that's really important to understand. But the big question that I want to bring to everybody is, why did they trust them? And I can tell you, it's because there's no drama. I will tell you, beyond anything, law enforcement runs from all of that mishigash. And this is a perfect example of folks who came to the table with a professional skill. The authorities recognized it. I talked about it this week in the MMU unit in the training here, about how powerful these platforms are. And they keep it classy. Exactly, Justin. They keep it classy. And as long as it's classy, then, there will be more of this coming in the future. It is the 21st century, and people are starting, and authorities are starting to recognize, they're starting to recognize that these skill sets exist. And sometimes that's very difficult because there are two, thought processes in relationship to, thanks, Fred, Starsky. Love Crutch, even without Starsky, exactly. I was just on the phone with Billy a little bit ago. We're still making great progress over there on D. Warner's case, and we're going to catch up on, some of that stuff too. But they aren't necessarily, you're right, they're not necessarily certified dive masters, I guess. I don't know. But, they have a certified skill that, when you start picking out, 23, 24 recoveries, you've just got to say, hey, there's something going on here. And hopefully they will get those certifications down the stream. No pun intended. But they have some great skill set. And like Josh says here, welcome, Josh. They find the stuff. They find it. And, you got to give it to them because the authorities are giving it to them. You heard them in the press conference lean over and say, AWP made the difference here. And when there is harmony, as J-Lo says here, there has to be if it's a respectful thing, then it all falls into place. And this little girl's family now benefits. So I'm very honored to give them a shout out, and because they deserve it. So, yeah, I'm sure there were a lot of people that could have done, certain things, but they did it. And so that's where it stops, right? The old saying, the buck stops here. And good for them, but more importantly, good for the authorities. I commend them as well. That they worked with them, and it fell into place. It absolutely fell into place. And thank you guys for always being classy here in our chat and for being members of this channel. Sometimes things don't always go smoothly, and I apologize for anything that I've ever done wrong in relationship to perception. But at the same time, when things do go right and professionals take notice of that, they've earned that respect. Exactly, Cat H. They have earned that respect. And, this channel will continue to give it to them. Because they deserve it. And I continue to give it to the other divers now from the law enforcement authorities because they have the second hardest part. And as a result of that, they now have to go into a recovery mode. And so one of the things I want to pick your brains on is this is, a photograph that was taken from a distance, and you can tell their sheriff. The gal there's got in her dive suit, it's folded down. She's talking to her partner, and, this is the car being recovered. That said, my opinion from day one, and I mentioned it over on the lab about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. First of all, we have to understand a couple of things about the decomposition process in relationship to this poor victim being in the water for at least 2 weeks. There is a whole bunch of things taking place with the body, and as a result of that, we see the windows down in the car. The mirror's broken, but that could be because the vehicle could have rolled into the mud or over the mud, or even in the connection process when they were pulling the vehicle up. That is not uncommon. Nothing suspicious there in my mind. The back window's covered because potentially because the victim's been underwater for that amount of time, the body expands in gases, and so it could have been moving in there. But what we'll have to wait now is phase 2 here. And phase 2 is, obviously the autopsy. And we need to leave the family alone 100%. Those parents are going through hell. And we need to leave them alone. As a not only as a true crime community, but just as just civilized. That's the right thing to do, being civilized. Let them grieve. There's a lot of forensic work that has to take place. There's toxicologies. And it's like, this is the first phase. And like I talked to a couple of my friends recently, the anniversary of my son's death, our son's death is September 3rd coming up. And it was like a gut punch when we found out. And then the second piece of that was all the other things that need to go on, right? There's a whole bunch of other things that need to take place. And so, Mimi says it here perfectly. The parents are suffering without all of this drama. And that's why I love you guys in our community, in our little community that we've built here. You are so, together. And, everybody is so respectful that it's really needed in today's world. And, we're so grateful to each and every one of you who keep it classy, just like that. I mean, social media is so hard sometimes. I mean, Karen calls it a blood sport. And I think she's right. Okay. And, something that is kind of unimaginable, and those of you who have experienced it know exactly what I'm talking about. You can't understand the depth of guilt, the depth of what could I have done? What should I have done? Who, what, when, where, and why. There's going to be a lot of finger pointing. There's going to be a lot of kids, that don't deserve it. They're, teenagers, they went to a party. And, that was a time of celebration to the next phase of life. And then in the middle of that, I'm sure some of you have lost somebody while they were in, while you were in high school. And you remember the shock to the school. Or maybe even worse, maybe some of you were involved in, school where there was a problem, a shooting of some sort. And that shock still lives with you. I would submit to though these friends who are experiencing that these parents, unfortunately, are weighing deeply today, and it's a depth that is indescribable. And so, pray for them, keep them, first in your thoughts and your prayers, and then hopefully everybody in our community will continue to build further, more and more respect into the law enforcement communities. I mean, last night and that's a really good point, Mr. Maven, that it's just not the parents, it's the entire community that invested so much with these teenagers. And I'm not saying there aren't going to be answers coming. I'm sure there will be, and that's why the investigators now, why they're standing there, thanks to AWP with this car, now they can take this to the next phase and bring answers in relationship to cause of death, manner of death. And, until that time comes, we have to be patient, right? Wouldn't you say? All of us. And so I purposely stayed out of this whole thing until this day. And because I knew there was a lot going on in that area. And I didn't want to be a distraction. Anyway, that said, the tarp over the back of the car is for obvious reasons. The windows are down in the car, though. I can see in the back here, this back window is open. It appears that the front window is open. I'm not worried about this because the vehicle shifts in weight, and it could have rolled onto its side. So let's see what happens with the authorities when they come back out. Let's see what the toxicology says. Let's see if there's anything suspicious in that vehicle. That if it turns into the next couple of press conferences is going to let us know. That's when we'll get the signals that it's either a criminal investigation or an accident. And if they come out and say they're waiting for the toxicology results, then they're leaning more towards the accident. I will go on the record and say that. If they don't, and they keep pressing things, then there's another problem. What that is, I don't know, and I won't know personally. So I'm not going to speculate what that is. But 16-year-olds go to the top of the sheet as well as any child death, So, and so that said, the water. One of the questions here I just saw, being under the water that long, how much will it affect the toxicology? Well, they get it from the tissue. So it shouldn't affect it very much at all. I mean, they have variances on charts in relationship to how long the victim's been underwater. And a victim typically, the body will expand after 10 days and start to float towards the top, and then it will sink again. So I've had bodies under the water as long as 3 weeks and almost a month. I had actually a guy who was under for almost a month, and we were able to get the docs were able to get a tox off of him, and it gave us good results. And in the liver, exactly, it's in the tissues. So that's the next big piece of this puzzle. And the authorities are going to weigh in on all of that, and they'll give us what those answers are. So Sandy, so I can remember Chris talking with Jared and Sam before from AWP before TIR was born. That's exactly right, Sandy. That's exactly right. And you want to hear a funny story? So Karen and I, we were in Oregon, and I was up there doing some things on another case, and I look over, and and he'll tell you the story. I look over, we're at a stoplight, and I see this Jeep, and I said to Karen, I said, "That's Jared." She goes, "No, it's not." I said, "Yes, it is. I swear to you, that's Jared. Look at him." And he looks over, and he doesn't even see us. He doesn't even, he's just so focused. And so I sent a text message. I said, "Nice Jeep." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Where are you?" He goes, "No, where are you?" I said, "I'm going for dinner. Are you coming with us? I'm right next to you." And he looks over and he starts cracking up. And he's like, "Well, let's go up to this pizza place." And he took us to this pizza joint, and we spent the evening with him, and we just chatted it up. And what were the odds of that? And then the next day we met him and out for lunch, and he's a great guy. And Sam's a great guy. He's got his own channel now, and AWP is doing what they do, and good for them. I think that's just absolutely amazing. It's good stuff. And what were the chances of that, right? Of that taking place? As I always say, the universe is on schedule. And I really believe that sometimes things aren't by accident. All right, so let's keep moving here. Updates. Okay, next Sunday, you guys are not going to want to miss the show coming up, the program coming up. I have a doctor coming on. I'm not going to burn it right now. I'm not, but I'm just going to tell you this. You know how Steve he basically does a word analysis on letters and that writing and that kind of stuff. Okay. Well, we're going to take it to the next level. And I have a forensic analyst who gives us the psychological aspects of writing coming on next Sunday. And we're going to talk about Don's letters. And she's going to break it down And it's going to be unreal because I spent the last week with her training up here at BIA, and she followed me. And I'm here to tell you guys, you're not going to want to miss this show because she has pegged our friends in the Summer Wells case. And how cool is this? If Don Hedden isn't the writer of all of those letters, she's also pegged the writer and the psychology behind this person. And I'm here to tell you, it's going to be a home run. She called me this morning to give me some insight already and said I could already mention this because she's working all week just on Summer's case. And this gal is very well renowned. She's even given a TED talk. So she's coming up on Sunday, and I don't want to give you her name yet because you'll see it when I put it up because, she's working and she doesn't want to get overwhelmed. But anyway, that said, Doc is going to be fantastic. Okay, so this little picture right next to Summer, so don't miss it, share it, put it out there. Folks, it's going to be open to everybody, subscribers, everybody. This is a members only debriefing tonight. So then the little guy over there in my arms, this was taken just after a class up where I was in the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And little buddy, all of a sudden later on that evening, at about 5 a.m, jumps up on my bed, and I could tell he was having a little difficulty breathing. And it scared the crap out of me. And then, of course, I grabbed him and took him, Karen and I, we immediately took him to veterinarian emergency hospital. And right now, he just actually came home about 2 hours ago, and he's not up on his seat up there. He's down here at my feet, just resting. But it sounds like he may have a little, murmur thing going here. We're not sure yet. We're taking him to a cardiologist, a veterinarian cardiologist this week. So I'll give you more. We'll have more information for you. But the good news is he's not, in danger or anything. They gave him some meds. They kept him overnight. They put him on a diuretic, so he pees a little bit more, as if a Jack Russell needed any more reason to pee, right? And that seemed to help. And the other thing is we were high up in elevation. Well, I can tell you where we were. We're not there now. We were up in Albuquerque. And so, it's a little bit higher up. So we're down, lower now. And hopefully that's going to make a big difference as well, okay, for him. And so let's keep him in our prayers if you wouldn't mind. He's just an absolute nut job. He's sleeping, but that's a good sign, right? That's always a good sign for little Bud. And so we'll keep you up to speed. Okay, so let me go up here for a second. Thank you, Fred. Sitting on my computer waiting all day. Thank you. Sure do appreciate you. Little bit. Thank you so much for becoming a member. We're so grateful to have you in the family. Canadian Cookie, love that name. Thank you for being with us. KNS, thank you so much. And of course, Danny Thomas, not the actor, love you. And I hope this is the same Danny Thomas that I've known for years, since the early 80s, who was my karate instructor. I hope this is you, Danny. It's good to see you. And So let's get to some of your what's on your mind. Let's get to some of the things that you've been thinking about. What has, and put a big question mark by your question or your thought, so I know. Thank you so much, Tony, for doing that. We're so grateful for you. Your beagle had cinnamon. Got older, but medication did help. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you. And Josh, the lab karate instructor, right? Yeah. Hey, if it is the same Danny Thomas, you do not want to mess with this guy. He's interesting. Dylan has his black belt in Taekwondo, but I took Tung Sudo in the early '80s, and Danny was my instructor. Were you able to watch the video that I sent? I've watched so many videos, Karen. So I know which one you're talking about, and the answer is yes. Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, and Dylan, that young man, he's just amazing. He has his black belt. He's got his Eagle Scout, and the kid he's had 3 or 4 jobs that he's held down, all during high school, and now he's got a full ride, to the aviation program in college, and he's going to go into the Air Force as an officer, and so he's been, we're so proud of that kid. Does anyone question if Kiely or Otto were put in the water more recently than August 6th? I don't know if there's any evidence of that, to be honest with you, at this point, Ginger, but that's a great question. Let's see what we got here. Did you see Andy B's Q&A? I let him know in my comment section you want him on your show. Who's Andy B? I don't know who that is. So, if you want to get onto the show, then folks have to go through the info email. We get so many cases, not only with the Cold Case Foundation, but as you can see, this last week I've spent time up in Albuquerque training the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I even had YouTube creators saying I wasn't even there. This is how stupid this gets in YouTube. Okay? It's absolutely insane sometimes. Meanwhile, I have, Justin Hooper on last night, and, this is the guy running the operation, and somebody puts in the chat, has anybody confirmed that this guy exists? Well, I don't know. He's on YouTube. Are you serious? It's like, holy cow, does this get any better? Listen to this. You hear that clown horn? Okay. Yeah, it's there for a reason. It's like, seriously, does Justin exist? I don't know. The guy's working, almost 1,500, 1,600 Native American women. It's crazy what people, say or do. It's like, move on, go to a different channel, please. Somebody, YouTube is crazy. Yeah. What else do we got here? Yep. Thank you, Alexandra. Appreciate you. Yeah. I've been having so many, it's almost hysterical sometimes. I've got people got me, putting the Crow Boys in prison. Meanwhile, Brad comes on and says, you weren't even there. It's like, well, maybe he doesn't exist either. What do you think? Yeah, we need a clown emoji now. If anybody can do a clown emoji, send it my way and we'll put it up. We'll put it up. It's crazy. And this is why when you get a case like Kiely's, the cops go, what? You're who? Thanks. Appreciate your calling. Okay. Move along. Nothing to see here. Okay. What we're trying to do and what TIR is trying to do is bring a sense of, rational thought process to these poor victims and these families out there. I love all the clowns coming in. Thank you, Truth Seeker. This is awesome. Yeah. I mean, these are great. We do need a really cool super sticker. Okay. And, a really cool emoji. I'm looking at the thing there. I'm dangerous with a clown horn. I know, really. I'm trying to be. I've got this board, and it's given me all kinds of different effects. On my voice, I got a robot voice, and all kinds of other things. And I'm going to save it for certain times. I'm going to save it for certain times, just like that. I mean, literally, I saw that question, come by the other night when Steve was on, and it was like, when Justin was on, I was like, you've got to be kidding me, right? They're questioning this guy, who, by the way, if you look at the photographs, he's wearing a gun and a badge, unless he got that in a box of Cracker Jacks somewhere. Which I'm sure people will think about, right? He was an awesome guest, wasn't he? Didn't you guys think he was wonderful? He is so cool. And they are doing such amazing things. And by the way, I'm going to start covering, as I promised, I'm going to cover some of these cases because, they need the help. They need the help. Absolutely. I think that's the least that we can do, wouldn't you say? So what else we got here? What's on your mind? What say you? I'm going to take a look over here. Yeah, and Josh did start a monster here. He's the one that told me to get the board. Yep, he did. I totally agree. Justin and his team are fantastic people. Fantastic people. And, it all started back in, when Josh and I were talking a while ago and I caught him eating that corn dog. It was kind of like, he's like, hey, you got to get this board. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Yeah. Classy. TIR live from the spaceship. That will have them talking. Exactly. Are you real? Yeah, I know, right, Ginger? I love it. I know. Can you? I mean, what is it, guys? Is it me? I mean, well, I know it's me because I'm like a lightning rod sometimes, depending on, whether, what mood the people are in, and by the way, I don't pay any attention to them. I just, when they come in, obviously I have to, I see them come in because I'm an open book, and I let them into the chat, and our poor mods, after later on are like, having to pinch themselves going, holy smoke, we worked a lot. Okay. Yeah. Pinch us to let us know you're real, right? Okay. Here we go. Everybody ready? Okay. I'm real. Look, it's real. Okay. It's real. Don't underestimate this. That's a joke. It's a funny. Okay. It's a funny, get the clown horn, There you go. There you go. And it was Karen's idea for the clown horn, by the way. Okay. It was Karen's idea. So let's see here. Yeah, this week is, Rose's thing. And we talked to the sheriff. And the sheriff says they're not going to comment, and they've asked everybody to stay off of social media in the family. Am I right, Karen? Yep, she's shaking her head. So we talked to the sheriff, and he says, well, we're not going to comment about Rosa's case right now, and we've asked the family to stay off of social media. So I hope I hope they'll take that in. Any activity on Suzanne Morphew? The only information that I know right now is that the authorities have not given up. But the problem is, obviously, there was some mistakes made and, some hasty decisions. And as a result of that, there are still folks out there that hopefully are going to get it done. I think the case agent's been changed based on some compromise, confessions, for lack of a better term. So Steve Johnson, when are we going to see him? You'll see. Steve started his own channel, and I want him to grow over there. You know what I mean? So he's got some good stuff over there. Go to the bottom of my channel. You can hit his link, and it will take you right over, and subscribe to his channel. But I think, the folks that go over there, he really appreciates that. But this Sunday, I've got another doctor coming on who's going to take it to also another level. Okay, to another level. Maya Miliete, great question, Jan. I should have Richard and Mary Chris back. Thank you for mentioning that. We're always in contact, and of course they're dealing with the children. If you can believe this, Larry's family is suing the family of Maya. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? I mean, talk about the clown horn. It's got to be amazing that they have the chutzpah to turn around and go after the victim's family. I mean, that's pretty gutsy when the guy's on trial for killing her. So he's suing through his family, Maya. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, you can't make this stuff up, that this guy even gets the opportunity to weigh in on that. And what he's doing is he's using his parents to do it. It's absolutely crazy. And Holly, I agree with you 100%. I hope it gets thrown out. And, it's absolutely nuts. And Justin, yeah, exactly. Shameful. Ginger said his cornbread ain't done in the middle. Exactly. Does it get any better than that? Thank you, Ginger Snap. You're right. They have no case, do they? No, actually, they do have a strong case. And let me tell you something about Summer Stephan, the DA down there. Remember, this is a civil problem. And we're starting to see a lot of this. I went through this in the Crow case, where they threw curveballs into the community through the civil process. And what happens is anybody involved in it is ordered to keep, to shut up, don't say anything. And you guys heard it now through, Brad coming on. But during all of that, I couldn't say a word. And this is exactly what they're doing. And it's exactly what they're doing in Barry Morphew's case, Who are they blaming now? They're blaming the cops. They're blaming the cops for killing Maya and for killing Suzanne. If you go back and look at anything I did on that case, I told you Suzanne would go on trial. And that now has come to pass. So I nailed it. I nailed that one anyway. So far I'm batting 1,000 on these things. And it's a diversion tactic, right? I mean, it's basically what, they're trained to do. And you got to love them for that. I.e. that's, they go at it, for their client. But at the same time, the public today is a lot more gullible than they were 15, 20 years ago because of social media. Yeah, see what they're doing in the Kristen Smart case right now, right? Just remember, just one of the biggest tactics, and thank you, Mr. Maven, for bringing that up. And just think about, what we're doing here as a TIR family. When we keep things classy, not only in our chat, but, how we see things, how we present them, okay, then there is no getting around it in a courtroom. It is what it is. And as a result of that, the defense doesn't know what to do with it. So when one of the things that I was taught years ago is just put it out there. And it will take it, the truth will eventually rise to the surface. And that's why I never responded to any of the garbage that was out there and floating around, because it does no good. No matter what I say, it's over. Okay? Because, if I was involved in the case, then people are going to believe whatever they want to believe. These cops today, already that have, pulling that car out for, this little girl, The Rodni family is already getting, hammered. I mean, we've lost civility. This is where I keep saying we've got to take back our civility as human beings, because, some people aren't strong enough to get through this. Any thoughts on Murdaugh murders? Yeah, I was in South Carolina recently. And I went over to see where all this take place. He's guilty. He killed both his wife and his son, and then staged it. And too bad the guy missed on the fake shooting. Too bad the guy missed. But he'll go down. He'll go down. Great comment. Thank you so much, Cherry. Appreciate you. Leanne, you and I both can't stand mind games, right? It's what does it do, right? What does it do? And Linda, thank you so much. Thank you, Rita. Kindness is free. It is free. Thank you. Right? I mean, I by no means in any way, shape, or form am I a perfect person. No way. Just ask my wife. I'm a human being like the next person. And police make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Okay? But I'm not a bad person. And what happens in social media, in my opinion, that they'll take one small, minutia thing. And this is where we did the program on the arsonist, right? The emotional arsonist. And they'll light and they'll take off. Okay? Well, I learned a long time ago, you just turn that switch off and go to the next, channel. It's real simple to resolve. But for me, I'm very protective of those who have been victimized. It's just ingrained in me. And it's just ingrained in me. And, sometimes there's two sides of me. There's the PD side, which they see in the classroom last week. And by the way, I'm still working a double in Texas. I can't tell you the case, but I'm working with an agency down there on a double homicide. Have been for the last year, almost a year and a half. And I'm sure people are going to say, no, he's not. Okay. Yeah, that's the point, right? Who cares what they say? I could care less. What I care about is you guys. I care about my sweetheart. I care about God first. And I care about my little buddy and my family. And God first, and then the rest in that order. Okay, they all fall down from that point. I don't lose any sleep over over things. And thank you, Tammy. You're right. None of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. Okay, there is great point, Indy. Yeah, I would agree with that. He was stealing from his law firm, from his brothers, and he deflected off of it, and he, killed his son and his wife with two separate weapons too, by the way. Right? I mean, two separate weapons to make it look like there were two different shooters. It's amazing. It's amazing. He really tried to think this thing out. But, unfortunately, the guy that shot at him, kind of opened up a can of worms. Thank you, Pat, for becoming a member. So grateful to have you here this evening. He allegedly stole so many clients and friends too. Very evil. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? What's interesting is Billy and I have experienced some of that in the D case up there, where some of these folks are not following their code of ethics, and they're selling their souls. And in D's case is a good example of that. And excuse me, where they're coming in and they took over, how to do some of the legal stuff for Dale. I'm telling you, they're going to get a wake up call. They're going to get a wake up call up there, because now that Michigan State Police has taken over. Thank you, Morgan. Welcome. Love you. Appreciate you being here. Love that little picture. They're going to get a wake up call, because Billy's not done. He is with, but he's been debriefing Michigan State Police, and it's all hands on deck. So, and by the way, hopefully all the intimidations kind of slowed up a little. That's kind of a big problem to show up at his house, at Billy's house. Talk about a tactical error. I mean, number one, the guy's not only a combat veteran, but you don't get to become a colonel in the military by accident. And the guy's he walked out of his car with a 45, in his hand. And I think that they got the message. And when you go back and look at that, the video of his surveillance system, and that's just a tip of the iceberg, And if he does, Wendy, right? If he does, okay, we're not saying he does, but if he's got political influence, well, we just changed that game. We absolutely just did change that game, because now it's no longer where it was at the sheriff's department. It is definitely where it needs to be. at a higher level. And let me tell you something. I totally agree with you, Heather. He does care about details. And let me tell you something. We worked a murder. I can't tell you the client. It was Billy's client. And I did the investigation on some things. And I was on the stand, and Billy was crossing me. And we found some things that nobody had found. And this guy was so surgical in his questioning that when it was time for the other parties to stand up and question me, it was like, nothing. Because he had already brought the thunder and ignited it in the courtroom. He's got a very long resume, and he's very humble. And that's one of the reasons, I respect him so much and love that guy, because he's not only an American hero, in my opinion, but he is thoughtful and caring about other people. And he jumps into these cases, with everything that he has. And, you can't put a price tag on that. You can't put a price tag on that. Let's see here. Yeah, it is something special to see him in action. Drive. That's an 8-hour drive. You're right. A long drive. And that would be a tactical error. Did I see Detective Pruitt's interview? The latest one, did he do a new one? Because if he has, I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. But I know his last interview that he did. And what concerned me about that last interview that he did, and I weighed in on that one a long time ago, was that he says he comes in and checks the in basket on Summer's case, and then he goes and he does his daily work. Yeah, I saw the 3-part old one, Chi-Chi. Love that name too. You go, girl. It's great having you here. And I think it's, when he weighed in and when the investigator said, I go back to my other stuff. And this is why I mentioned a while ago that I thought it was important for, TBI, FBI, and Detective Pruitt to have their own little room and pull him away and let him do his own thing just on Summer's case. I think that would be really a good move. And I'm not saying they're not doing that. I don't know, what the sheriff is doing on that piece of it right now. I can tell you this, that I think we all know that Donnie's coming out pretty soon. And, we're going to see what he's going to do. But I'm going to, no matter how many letters he's written, I'm going to go on the record tonight that he's just going to fall right back to where he left off. He learned a little bit more, but remember how he starts on the Dr. Phil show. The very first thing he says, and by the way, I've gotten, so much, so many people have weighed in and said, I focused on Donnie. No, I haven't. I didn't focus on Donnie. His sisters did. I just brought the focus to him from his sisters, who had the courage to stand up and say, you no longer can do this. And so if I brought the focus from his sisters to him, awesome. I'll do it again. And I'll keep doing it until they feel that they've had justice for what was brought to them. Nothing will change in him. Nothing will change. Will he be on YouTube? you know what? I think the two of them are laying low or right now because of, other people. But when the drugs and alcohol kick back in, then they'll be back. Yeah, it's just a matter of being patient. Thank you, Will LB, and I'll put a bingo card of 100 on that. Yeah, easily. Let's show some bingo cards, guys. Bingo on 100 that he'll be back in, because right now, it's being pushed back to him that they're going to say, don't show up on YouTube. Whatever you do, don't show up on YouTube, because Chris just put a bingo card of 100. It's going to drive him crazy. In fact, I'll put a bingo card of 1,000 that he's going to be back. Even Candace, she's already popped up a couple of times. Okay. It'll, here they come. I love it. Absolutely love it. So I think, now he's written, maybe the first letter, but this Sunday is going to be a fascinating show. And because what's going to be interesting about this is, let's hypothesize. Let's say he hasn't written the last two, hypothetically. Well, what about the psychology of the person that did write those letters? I'm really curious about that side of the equation. And we're going to see where, that kind of unfolds, right? We're going to see how that in of itself, produces itself. Because, see, he wants to stay engaged. He has to. He has to stay engaged because he has to continue to create the narrative. Okay. If he doesn't continue to create the narrative, then the narrative doesn't exist. YouTube will take over. And as we used to say, in my business, feed the beast. If you don't feed the beast will eat you. And who was the beast, right? The beast was the media. And this is why, even in the latest case, where, for Kiely, I mean, you had the media, pushing the investigators. And to the PIO's credit, they had press conferences, initially at least once, twice, a week or whatever it was, but they always had they had the microphone stand ready to go. And everybody would stand behind them, in their suits and badges and insignias, the generals. And meanwhile, the workers out there in the field were like getting things done. Okay? Like getting things done. And what was interesting, when you hear the sheriff, to her credit, she says, one of our sergeants, reached out to AWP, thank goodness, and they helped. But don't condemn them for that. That was a good thing. That was a good thing. Okay? Because if they had not, then AWP, quite frankly, would have done it in 3 or 4 months anyway. But now they did it in conjunction with what's going on. Yes, I completely agree. Fruitland PD are awesome. And there's good things happening. And I'm going to leave it right there. Okay. Yes, that was a great thing. A humble thing to do. Yes, thank you, Sally. That was very humble for them to, jump in and say, okay, do we trust these people? Thank you so much, Level-Headed. Appreciate that. They have proven themselves. They've proven themselves in so many ways, and the fact that they work together with AWP because of the technology, and the fact that AWP had built such a reputation. This is what we can do in this arena, being level-headed No pun intended, level head. Being level-headed and taking these cases not as investigations in relationship that we're going to solve it, okay? But how do we become a force of good, not only for the victim, but for the victim's families? And how do we work together? Because in our chats here, as an example, you guys are really smart. Many of you are much smarter than I'll ever be. And I'm telling you, if we continue to have success together, like AWP in these cases, I mean, think about it. Think about it. What more we could do with the resources that they don't have. Thank you, Indy. Thank you. Yeah, it's an FBI intense investigation. Absolutely. And you're going to see that until the toxin and all that information comes back. Now that they have, the next phase here, and this is what I told Richard and Mary Chris, I said, lay low, because now you're in phase 2. And phase 2 is all the court stuff coming up with Larry. But in between all of that there is, this craziness that his attorney has filed the lawsuit against the family. And that's just smoke and mirrors. And just like I said with Barry Morphew, smoke and mirrors. They're gonna blame everybody but Barry. They're gonna blame everybody but Larry. And as a result of that, they look like the good guys. I can't tell you how many times, right? We've all seen on court TV, or if you've been in the courtroom before, where, I got to tell you a funny story. It's a funny story. And that's the only way I can tie this concept together. So anybody that knows me for a long time knows I'm an optimist and I'm a very happy guy. I try to be. I have my bad days like the next person, like when my buddy gets sick or my sweetheart is having a bad day. I can feel that. I'm emotionally attached to that. But I smile a lot. And one day we had 3 juries in a case. Her name was Rebecca Jensen, was the victim. And this was a long time ago. And 3 people had, taken her life. They robbed her, and then they stabbed her and buried her. Anyway, long story short, I get all 3 in custody, and they're going to put all 3 of them on trial together. They did not want to separate the trials. So literally, there were, during voir dire, when they're picking all of the jurors, I was, in between, I'd look over at, the DA at the time, a guy named Mark Patine, who is an amazing human being. He's passed away now, God bless him and his family. But so Mark is sitting there, and he's asking all the questions, and, he's standing up and, looking at the jurors and talking to them, and they're starting to, toss jurors. And anyway, they get the jury picked. They got all 3 juries picked, and the case, is kicking off. Opening arguments go on. The defense gets up, makes their argument. And then, one of the people, the attorneys, looks over and says to the court, Your Honor, can we dismiss the jury? And, I'm sitting there, going, what's going on, Mark? And he says, I don't know. Let's wait. So the judge dismisses everybody and says, Your Honor, I'm noticing Detective McDonough is smiling at the jurors. So he looks, Mark looks over at me, and I'm like this, And he goes, stop. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm smiling, right? And he goes, Your Honor, we'd like to call each of the jurors back in one at a time and question them if Detective McDonough is influencing them. And we've just started, right? If there was ever a time for a clown horn, now is the time. So anyway, long story short, they start bringing the jurors in one at a time. And I'm sitting there going, I can't believe this. And I now have to cover my mouth waiting for them to say he's covering his mouth. Right? So they get through a lot of the jurors, and then they finally come to this one guy. And one of the defendants was a male. And the defense asks him, he says, while you've been sitting here, has, Detective McDonough smiling influenced you in any way, shape, or form? And they go all, the yada, yada. And the guy looks at him and says, no, it hasn't bothered me a bit. He said, and then he points to the guy's client and says, but that guy right there has been staring at all of our women. Right? And the guy went nuts. The judge is like, whoa. He stops everything again, and that guy got dismissed and replaced with, an alternate. But this is how crazy things can get sometimes, right? When we see these defendants come walking in and, they're wearing their suits and, forget the fact that they've had blood spatter all over them, during the their victims. Okay. But, at the same time, they project this, it's not me. Okay. It certainly isn't me. Okay. I mean, the fact that Larry had all of those guns, the fact that he's trying to brainwash his wife, the fact that all of these other things that Barry did, the helmet, the bike ride, getting rid of all the stuff at the hotel. I mean, that looks like the work of an innocent human being, doesn't it? Right? I mean, most definitely. Meanwhile, what do we hear? We hear Suzanne had an affair. We hear everything about Suzanne. Well, I'm here to tell you that Suzanne Morphew is still missing. Her body is still out there. And Barry Morphew has done zero to find his wife. Zero to find his wife. And I know there are people in Colorado that are dedicated to do that. And it's moving, hopefully, in the right way at some point. Okay? And, now I think at some point they're going to start suing the cops in Colorado, CBI. Well, there you go. There you go. I put a bingo card of 100 because I think a year and a half ago or whenever it happened, I said the cops will be on trial and so will Suzanne. I didn't know in totality that Barry would have walked. Not yet, anyway. But the good news is there is no statute of limitation. There is no statute of limitations on homicide. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. And quite frankly, sometimes cases get better with ex-girlfriends than they do with current girlfriends. Because now all of a sudden, you remember the girlfriend that ran and picked the package up for him, right? And got arrested? Her? Who was it? Shoshone or Shoshona? Something like that, if I remember right. She's going to be a great witness one day, Barry. You better control it. No pun intended. Just like Dale. When I asked Dale, I said, well, where do you think D is, Dale? right in front of the cops. We were at the task force meeting, and I was sitting there when they had the FBI, we had Michigan State Police and the Sheriff's Department there. And I leaned right over and I said, where is she, Bill? Or excuse me, Dale? And he goes, you want me to tell you where she is? I said, yeah, that's why I asked. And this is what Billy said. You know, he started chuckling. And he goes, well, she's in Jamaica or Mexico, right in front of the task force. And I said, oh, really? Well, meanwhile, right, the cops are sitting there and they know she hasn't, gone through any checkpoints in any way, shape, or form, airlines, nothing, zero, nada, zilch. Okay? If you got to leave this country, you got to have a passport and you got to pass it on, right? You got to pass it on to the customs people. And none of that's happened ever. Okay, ever. So we've got Suzanne, we've got Dee, we've got Maya. Okay, we still have Kelly Brannon out in Florida, where Eddie, her boyfriend, was the last guy seen with her. And I made a commitment to her that I would not give up, and I have not. I have interviewed Eddie a couple of different times. He is, allegedly doing well up in New Hampshire, in Boston area, playing guitar. The key to her case is finding that guitar. If we could ever find her guitar, Kelly's guitar, then we're going to get closer to finding Kelly. She's out there somewhere in that area in Florida, where she went missing. She needs some justice as well. We've got Summer now for children. We've got Michael, little monkey, and these other many other cases. There are so many of them. But if we do this succinctly and we do it with wisdom and patience, then we'll be able to get some of these knuckleheads in custody. And Dale's next. David Robinson is missing still in Arizona. I talked to one of the homicide investigators on that. And we've also got the Cold Case Foundation working on that, by the way, behind the scenes. So there's a lot of things happening just because they're not in the public arena. Just like there were, in Maya's case, CCF, I was working behind the scenes with Chula Vista PD. And Mary Chris and Richard can now tell you that. And when they had the press conference, the first thing they said was, we want to thank CCF. So the West boys, they're in custody though right now, right, Wendy? The suspects are in custody on that. So the court system now, phase 2 is going to do their thing. But you're right, 100%, you're right. Updates on Monkey, yes, there's things coming. I'm not at liberty right now, though, to share them. Okay, but I promise you there are things coming. You heard it here first. Put a bingo card of 100 on it. Okay. Yeah, there are thousands of things going on. And yes, Mimi, in this case, the guitar is key. The guitar is key because, see, the guitar has value. Okay. Thank you, Sheriff. I love you, buddy. Great job. As always, home run. Cannot think of, just good stuff. Good job, man. Well done. I told the story where I ran into you at the stoplight. So let's catch up for dinner one of these days again, buddy. But keep doing what you do, and good job. Well done. Keep going, brother. Anyway, so a lot of things go on behind the scenes. Show some love for AWP as always. These guys are amazing. The team there, they have brought some peace to many, many, many families. Many, many, many families, and good for them. And this is, if we keep maintaining this course of bringing civility to these cases and not the craziness, we're good to go. We're good to go. We're good to go. They are heroes. Totally agree with you. Totally agree. And hopefully Lawson, if there are some things up there, he'll now catch that win. Thank you, Chi-Chi, for saying that. He'll catch that win. Okay. All right. So I've had you guys an hour and 21 minutes. What else you've got? You're the most important piece for me, each and every one of you. I want to make sure, well, first of all, I want to apologize for not doing more of these for our members. Please forgive me. But at the same time, I'm here now, and I'll make a commitment to you to keep moving on these things. I love our mods, Miss Sophia, Maui Girl, Mimi J2, Stephanie H, Teresa M, and Mystery Maven. You gals and women are absolutely amazing. I cannot thank you enough for everything you do. But then of course, each and every one of you, thank you so much for everything you do. TIR, thank you so much, honey. That is very kind of you. Okay, an update on Buddy. I keep seeing more people want to know about Bud. And thank you, Linda, so much for that kindness and for keeping us in your prayer. I have to be honest with you. I was thrown a gut punch the other night with Buddy. I mean, he was so sick, and yet, we didn't know what was going on, but he got some great medical care. He's doing great. He's sound asleep at my feet. And we're taking him to a cardiologist, and hopefully we'll have some more tests back this week after those appointments, and we'll keep you guys posted. He's such an integral part of this channel, as you guys know, and so. But he's a Jack Russell, and these dogs have a will to fight, and he's just a chip off of the old block, as they say, right? He just, he's just always there. And what I love about Buddy, he brings so much joy to people. He brings so much joy when we're out and about, and people, say, hey, is that a Jack Russell? And Buddy will just, his tail and his back end's going 250 miles an hour, and then he'll just lay over. And, they're like, we've never seen a Jack act this mellow. And, I'm like, yeah, I know, doesn't he? He just, he's just such a precious animal. Thank you, Miss Thing. But aren't they all to us, right? Our families, don't we kind of connect in many ways with our fur babies, for lack of it, right? I mean, we just love this little guy so much. And I got to tell you, I was gut punched, when the doc said, he's sick. And I was like, well, how did that happen? I mean, we just had him in his wellness check about 4 weeks ago, and he's perfect. They said, check the boxes, see you again next, on the next one. And next thing you know it, we're at the room, the emergency room with him. And so the good news is he's doing great. And, because of your prayers, I'm sure that, the Lord knows that, he keeps him here for a lot of reasons. And he's still young. He'll be 8 in November. At least, and I even know the birthday of my dog. Shame on DW for not knowing the birthday of his child. Crazy. Just crazy. So prayers for Buddy. Agent 99, I love it. Max from Get Smart. just as I thought. Rubber garbage. Back in the day, right? Electric grass. Remember you used to say, 99, do you have a hairpin? And she goes, no, I don't, Max. And he pulled it out and he goes, well, I do. You know, and then he goes, aha, just as I thought. Electric grass. I love that guy. I love it. You know, oh, did he? Just, you know, what? How cool is that? Okay. So that said, one more clown horn. Any other thoughts, guys and gals? We love you all so much. We're so grateful. I'm also going to be releasing this week a piece that we did on the Kennedy, where Lyndon Burr Johnson was sworn in on the plane, Kennedy's plane, after his assassination. So that's coming. I'm just putting it together, but it will be out probably in the middle of the week. And then, of course, don't miss me on Sunday. I'm telling you, it's going to be so cool. I cannot wait for the good doc to come on. She's going to take it to a new level. And it's going to be pretty cool. I promise you that. All right. As always, be akamai, as they say in Hawaii. Always stay ahead of things. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Always spread love to one another. Be kind to each other. And then hopefully things will continue to get better for each and every one of you. You know, God bless you. And thank you so much for always supporting this channel. Have a great day. Let's go to Hawaii.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.